Hi, this is Wendy from Knitters Brewing, and today we're going to talk a little bit about thumbs, and particularly the thumbs that are associated with the dotted pattern. And what I've got here is finished the cuff, and I've worked the thumb gusset section. Here's the thumb gusset, and thumb gussets are basically what you add to make extra circumference to go around your hand where your thumb sticks out right here. So this is the thumb gusset section, if you're wondering what that is. And in this particular case, I've done the increases, and I now have 12 stitches, 12 gusset stitches between my two markers here. So now we're on to the section where we are going to separate the thumb stitches from the rest of the mitten so that we can go on and work this part of the hand. And to do that, we start by knitting up to where the first gusset marker is. And that's only 2 stitches. And then what we're going to do is put these 12 stitches onto waste yarn. So I like to use a contrasting color of waste yarn, and you also can remove the markers at this point too. So I just thread some waste yarn onto a blunt-nosed darning needle, and we're just going to slip those stitches off our left-hand needle and onto this waste yarn. Okay, and get rid of that marker. You could also put them on a stitch holder if you want, but I like the fact that the waste yarn is very flexible, and now you can just let it hang like that. Now it's a little easier for me to show you what we're going to be doing here. Got the thumb gusset stitches. They're going to stick out here on the side and wait until later. And now what we're going to do is join these back stitches to the front stitches so that we can now start working from here on up to the rest of the top of the mitten. And to do that, we need to add a couple of stitches in here to kind of bridge this gap across the thumb. So to do that, we're going to use what is called a purled cast on. And I just need to scooch a needle a little bit to do that. So we already have our first 2 stitches on this needle. Now we're going to add 2 more to it, and we're going to do it just like you would if you were purling. So we're going to insert the needle as if you purl, and wrap it, pull it through to the back, which is actually the front, and instead of taking this stitch off the needle, we're going to put the new loop on to the left hand needle. So we're adding stitches that way. And now we just need to do 1 more. Apologize, I work at a funny angle when I make these videos. Okay. Okay. Now we've added 2 more stitches to this needle. And from the right side, we had our 2 original stitches and then the 2 that we've added. Now we're going to join the back stitches to the front stitches to create the new circumference for the hand part. And to do that, we now just keep knitting around, if I can get my yarn in the right place. Okay. And as I do these first couple of stitches, I pull it real tight because we want to not have a bunch of slack in here across the thumb gap. There we go. And then you just finish knitting the round that way. And I will now show you what we've got. Okay, so this is the new part that will go around the hand here. And this is the part that will eventually be the thumb. We're going to continue finishing the hand part and then come back at the end and work the thumb. We'll pick some stitches up across here, and that's what I'll show you how to do next. I'm ready to show you how we put the thumb on now. I didn't quite finish the top of my mitten yet, but I promise I will do it later. I did enough of it to be able to show you what we're going to do here. So we've got our 12 stitches that we put on waste yarn here, and this is the gap where we cast on 2 stitches in the middle. So the first thing that we're going to do is put these stitches back onto needles, and according to the directions in this specific pattern, we're going to start here. This is going to be stitch number 1. We're going to put the first 7 onto one needle and the last 5 onto the second needle. And that is specific to magic loop or 2 circs if you're using those methods. If you're a DPN user, you'd want to split that among 3 needles. So I'm going to do that, and then I will be back. And here we go. I've got the first 7 stitches on this needle and the last 5 on that needle. So I can go ahead and pull out my waste yarn. And we are ready to work on the thumb. So the first thing we're going to do is knit these stitches. I've attached my thumb color on the inside. And so first we're going to knit these 12 stitches, and then we will pick up stitches across the gap. So get my first needle stitches. All right, now we're going to do the next needle. Now we're going to pick up stitches across this gap. And as we pick up these 4 stitches, we're going to add them on to the end of this second needle. Or if you're doing DPNs, you'd put them onto your 3rd needle. Now when you're picking up these stitches, you want to space them evenly across the gap, and you also want to pick them up in a way that they are going to be secure and they're not going to pull and leave holes where they're picked up. So like what you don't want to do is just pick up like under one strand of yarn like this, because it's going to leave a hole. You want to instead go a little back farther and make sure you're getting a couple of strands where you're picking up so that you pick up in a firm location. So for the purpose of this demonstration, let me make sure it's good and focused here. I'm going to pick one up here, kind of on the side, and then I'm going to pick up 2 across the bottom of the hole, one there, and then another one over here on this side of the gap, maybe right in here. And to do that, I do it very much like I knit. So the first one I'm going to pick up is going to be right here. And so I insert the needle down through the work, wrap it like I'm knitting, and pull that new loop through. Now the next one I'm going to pick up is going to be here. And let's go here. But that one seems to leave kind of a hole, so I don't like that one. I'm going to let that one go. And instead, I'm going to go one more over. So you can see this is one of those times where knitting is a bit subjective. Next one I'm going to pick up is going to be right here. The patterns always can't tell us exactly everything to do. Sometimes we just have to have, just have to rely on our mad skills and a little practice. Okay, there's 3. And the last one needs to be over here. I'm going to go right into this stitch. And got to get it up through the hole here so I can wrap it. And back through now. Okay, I've got 4 stitches. As we do our next row, we're going to do a decrease on these 2 and a decrease on these 2, which will further tighten up those areas where they've been picked up. So I'm going to knit around the next round until I get to that section, and I will show you how that looks. I've now worked around the next round, and I am back to where we picked up those 4 stitches. So in this round we're going to decrease those down to 2, and I like to use mirrored decreases just because I think it looks nice. So for the first 2 I use a slip slip knit, which is a left leaning decrease, and then for the final 2 I use a K2 together, which is a right leaning decrease. And so that is now decreased. That actually ends up right here in the thumb. Now to finish your thumb, you're just going to keep working in the round to build it out to the length that you need it to be. And usually you go till it's about 1/4 of an inch shorter than you want it, because it takes a few rows to decrease, as your pattern will show you, just to get the end of it to be a little more narrow at the end. So go to about 1/4 of an inch shorter than you need it, and then you can finish off your thumb. And just to put a happy ending on our story, here is the finished thumb. So along here you can see this is where the gusset stitches were on each side. That's where the increases were. And then across the top here, this is where we picked up stitches and then decreased 2 and built the thumb out from there. And that's all there is to it.